An offshore trust can make your assets bulletproof, protecting them from being attacked by any kind of predator. Trusts were conceived centuries ago when the British landed nobility were going overseas to fight in wars. They would leave their affairs to be managed by others, in a trust with strict instructions on how their assets were to be managed. When they returned from war, the trustees would return the assets to the nobles. Today we're going to look at how you can use a trust to make sure your assets always remain safe. There are 3 layers to a trust. You have the settlor, the beneficiary, and the trustees. The settlor is the person or entity who establishes the trust. The beneficiaries are those who will benefit from the assets owned by the trust in the future. The trustees manage the trust on behalf of the beneficiaries. Offshore trusts and foundations work in exactly the same way as their onshore equivalents. Offshore trusts offer a greater level of privacy and protection. The trustees have instructions on how to manage the assets and how they are to be dispersed. The settlor, although he doesn't control or own the assets, may have significant input into what happens to them. The reason that trusts have stood the test of time over centuries is that they provide a clear legal separation of the assets of an individual from the assets of the trust. When you transfer assets to a trust or a foundation, you no longer own them legally. Offshore trusts add another layer of protection for the settlor and beneficiaries. It's impossible for any hostile creditor to discover any information about the assets and activities of the offshore trust or foundation. The assets can't be seized by your creditors, including lawsuits, divorce, and tax authorities. Trust law in some jurisdictions even has legislation to stop anyone from being forced to transfer the assets of the trust under duress. This can block courts in hostile countries, forcing the repatriation of the trust's assets. You can use an offshore trust to protect your assets, even if you haven't decided on the beneficiaries yet. Some offshore jurisdictions, such as the Cayman Islands and the British Virgin Islands, have modernized the trust with the introduction of the Star Trust. These structures make it easier to remove trustees and let the settlor keep more control of the affairs of the trust. These structures are more like living trusts that do not have to nominate beneficiaries when they are set up. This lets you transfer your wealth out of your legal ownership while still keeping control. You can decide on the beneficiaries at a later date. Liechtenstein is the home of the original foundation, which is basically a European version of the British trust. Liechtenstein foundations are largely impenetrable. Panama updated the foundation structure with its own version of the Liechtenstein Foundation. This, combined with Panama's strong privacy laws and aversion to cooperating with foreign jurisdictions, makes it a good option. The Cook Islands and Nevis also have strong privacy laws and legislation, which makes their trusts impenetrable. Trusts and foundations are a good option to preserve generational wealth. Because they are not owned by you, they are not affected by any financial mishaps, such as legal judgments or even bankruptcy. The trust will be at the top of your offshore pyramid. It can own shares in your offshore companies, which may in turn own assets in your home country or other high-tax jurisdictions. As Rockefeller once said, trusts are the perfect way to own nothing and control everything. You can also use trusts to secure assets before moving to a high-tax country. One client had been living in Monaco for over 10 years, but in need of a change and a new challenge, he decided to move to California. He was able to secure his assets in a Liechtenstein foundation before moving to the U.S., protecting them from taxation in a high-tax jurisdiction. Many jurisdictions will work well to set up trusts and foundations, but specialist help is essential. The team at Liberty Mundo can help establish trusts in jurisdictions worldwide and create a plan tailored to your wealth protection needs. We will help you develop a complete blueprint to organize your life to safeguard your wealth and your freedom. Follow the link in the description for more details. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.